meeting with its elected leaders from Migori County and Kisii County to get a brief following recent worrying incidents in the two counties. In attendance from Migori was the governor. You can see His Excellency Ochilo Ayako is here. The woman representative, Honorable Fatuma Full Network. Senator Eddie Okech is here with us, the MP for Suna West. Honorable Junet Mohammed. And from Kisii County we have, yes, and we also have members of the County Assembly from Kitutu Churches South, the Honorable Barongo from Bomachoge, Borabu, and Honorable Sero, who's from Borabu in Nyamira, joined us as well. So what has emerged from the briefing is that there is a clear and calculated plan to use state power to destabilize ODM-run counties and constituencies in partnership with rogue members of the party, some who are the subject of ongoing disciplinary proceedings and who have since pledged allegiance to our opponents in the regime.
Maybe we'll start afresh.
Yes. So apologies to those who are watching us on the live stream. Some other members of the media have arrived. We just want them to be ready and we'll take the statement from the top. Once I get a signal that those who have now come are okay to proceed. We can proceed? Emmanuel Joe? Yes. We can proceed? Okay. This is a press statement of a meeting of a Central Committee of a party. The Central Committee of the party has had a meeting with its elected members, leaders from Migori and Kisii counties to get a brief following recent worrying incidents in the two counties. In attendance from the county of Migori was the governor, Honorable Ochilo Ayako, the women representative, Honorable Fatuma Full Network, the senator, the Honorable Eddie Okech, the member of parliament for Suna West, the Honorable Peter Masa, the MP Suna East, Honorable Junet Mohammed, and two MCAs from Migori as well. From Kisii, we have the Honorable Kibagendi from Kitutu Churches South, the Honorable Barongo from Bomachoge, Borabu. Honorable Osero from Borabu in Nyamira was also present. What has emerged from the briefing is that there is a clear and calculated plan to use state power to destabilize ODM-run counties and constituencies in partnership with rogue members of the party, some subject to ongoing disciplinary proceedings, who have since pledged allegiance to the regime. The idea seems to be to utilize state force, particularly the police and provincial administration, to prop up the so-called rebels in an attempt to penetrate our strongholds. In Migori, police fired tear gas at mourners at a funeral on the 3rd of this month in Uriri sub-county at the direction of the area MP, Honorable Mark Nyamita. Honorable Nyamita was invited to today's meeting but did not attend. At this stage, the party wishes to dissociate itself from the Honorable Mark Nyamita. We have granted his wish to no longer be part of us, and advise our members in Uriri and Migori generally that he is an agent of our opponents in the UDA with the assigned task of sowing confusion and discord within ODM. Honorable Nyamita does not speak for nor represent the party at any level, and we advise our members to view and treat him and all those who support him accordingly. In Bomachoge Borabu, UDA MPs, in a bid to undermine the area ODM MP, Honorable Barongo, brandished employment letters from the TSC and the Kenya Wildlife Service. These bad manners was started by none other than CS for Education, the Honorable Machogu. We cannot as a party think of a clearer example of abuse of power other than people walking around with employment letters for state appointments in funerals and in these unofficial events. What is most worrying to us and our supporters is that members of Azimio do not have a similar opportunity to also get those employment letters because they are issued exclusively to members of the UDA. There is also continued harassment of our leaders in Kisii, including the governor, members of parliament, and our supporters in Kisii by the police and provincial administration. The master puppeteer behind these schemes has been identified as none other than the PS for Internal Security, Raymond Omolo. The party wishes to condemn in the strongest terms this blatant abuse of police and state power to intimidate our people and prop up regime stooges in our strongholds. We will be lodging formal complaints to the relevant authorities in the next few days as regards the abuse of police power and the provincial administration. We want to also make it clear that as members of parliament from the Azimio coalition side, we will be seeking a position of this government on whether state appointments can be dished out in the manner in which they are being dished out by cabinet secretaries led by none other than CS for Education, the Honorable Machogu. So MPs, we will be summoning the CS to Parliament to explain to us where and how members of ODM can pick TSC employment letters. In the meantime, we urge our supporters to remain vigilant and smell out these nefarious schemes by the regime and its stooges who hide amongst us, thinking they can deceive us as to their intentions. That is the end of the statement, and if there are any questions, we will take the questions now. Thank you. I think it is clear.
It's clear.
Yeah.
There's one there.
So you never lack a statement, a question? Yes. Is it regarding this? Okay. Yes. Just this. We will talk about that some other time. You're welcome for lunch.
Kuna mafuriko. Hakuna election.
Only seeing one side. When we speak, why should the minister bring? No, I'm reacting. It is insinuations.
It is investigation to be turned into
perceived to be flood-prone and riparian, and such evacuations, whether mandatory or voluntary, must be done in a humane manner that respects human rights without causing further deaths. The reckless and reactionary strategy of the Kenya regime has caused the death of a young boy by the name Ian Otieno. Even yesterday, when the government bulldozers forcefully evicted those living in Mathare, almost a day or so after President Ruto had been there and telling everybody that you will not be moved until at least some adequate alternative shelter has been found. On Saturday, 2 Kenyans also lost their lives in similar circumstances in Mukuru slums. These actions of a disastrous regime must be stopped. In light of the current tragedy, we demand that this regime adopt protective measures of early warning, facilitation relocation of communities in imminent risk of being affected by the floods, and adhere to effective disaster management strategies. As we may also insist that the Kenya Kwanza regime provide emergency relief services, including food, shelter, and medical care to meet the displaced, affected, and affected populations. B. Assistance infrastructure destroyed by the floods, with an emphasis on sustainable development and disaster resilient infrastructure. C. Develop and strengthen infrastructure and systems that enhance the country's resilience to natural disasters.
We ensure that our country receives adequate as a continent is high its burdens in malaria, evil diseases that are killing millions of people within Africa year on year. And one of the main reasons Kenya team, we're now ensuring that there is always stocks available to a lot of funds. We also want to ensure that our country
we have continued to increase the number of jobs here at Revital Healthcare. Currently, with 650 people working at Revital, with 80% being female, Revital will be introducing another 200 new jobs, prioritizing female employment, but also putting an emphasis on speech and hearing impaired individuals.
Revital has really impacted me in a positive way. This will really push me to expand my career in future. I get to share this knowledge with my family, with my community, and also to educate them and have this awareness how to use the product.
from the areas perceived to be flood-prone and riparian lands. Such a humane manner that respects human rights without causing further deaths. The reckless and reactionary strategy of the Kenya Kwanza regime has caused the death of a young boy by the name Ian Otieno. Ian was killed yesterday when the government bulldozers forcefully evicted those living in Mathare, almost a day or so after President Ruto had been there and telling everybody that you will not be moved until at least some adequate alternative shelter has been found. On Saturday, 2 Kenyans also lost their lives in similar circumstances in Mukuru slums. These actions of a disastrous regime must stop. In light of the current tragedy, we demand that this regime adopts protective measures of early warnings and facilitation relocation of communities in imminent risk of being affected by the floods and adhere to effective disaster management strategies. Azimio also insists that the Kenya Kwanza regime provides emergency relief services, including food, shelter, and medical care to meet the basic needs of all the displaced, evicted, and affected populations. B, deliver assistance in rebuilding homes and infrastructure destroyed by the floods with an emphasis on sustainable development and disaster-resilient construction. C, develop and strengthen infrastructure and systems that enhance the country's resilience to natural disasters and facilitate effective response mechanisms. And D, fast-track policies and legislative frameworks that focus on comprehensive disaster risk reduction and climate adaptation measures and ensure active community involvement in these processes. Number 2, the doctor strike is another disaster. Azimio expresses concerns over the 2 months of doctor strike that has disrupted healthcare services in the country. This is another disaster that has been occasioned by disastrous Kenya Kwanza regime in its failure to fully promptly address the doctors' concerns. The doctor strike continues to highlight the incompetence of the Kenya Kwanza regime in dealing with the healthcare system in our country. The response from the regime has not only been inadequate, but also completely out of touch with the reality facing the people. We note that the Labor and Relations Court has ordered the striking doctors and the government to reach an agreement within 48 hours, and I think time has been ticking. While we have seen the efforts by the doctors to end the strike, we are yet to see the commitment from the government side to do the same. We ask the Kenya Kwanza regime to take advantage of the 48-hour window given by the courts and immediately reach an agreement with doctors that will see a resumption of normalcy in public hospitals, failure to which we shall mobilize the public and other unions to join in a national strike. We have said this before, and there are various ways of actually joining in this endeavor. What we're basically saying is, can this matter come to an end? As a result of these floods, waterborne diseases are now, we've seen the headlines in the major newspapers today, problem with cholera in Tana River County and elsewhere, everywhere. Now with the doctors on strike, what else can this be other than disastrous? On the critical matter of General Ogola's death, we demand for a parliamentary select committee immediately. On April the 18th, 2024, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Omondi Ogola, lost his life in the course of duty. Excuse me. together with 9 other gallant officers of KDF. We note with concern that the Kenya Kwanza regime has moved on swiftly, leaving the families of the departed soldiers with no help. They also are yet to establish a time-bound public inquiry into the cause of the chopper crash. We reiterate our earlier demands of securing the services of independent and international experts or investigators who will get to the bottom of this matter. The ongoing investigations by the Kenya Air Force is a limited internal affair that does not satisfy the requirement of an open, transparent, independent, and credible investigation. We too demand that a parliamentary select committee inquiring into the tragedy be set up immediately. Kenyans are concerned and suspicious that the tragic death of the 4-star general and his colleagues may be connected to sinister political machinations. This is particularly so given the unsubstantiated allegations against his person relating to the 2022 presidential elections. And fourthly, we want to deal with the fake fertilizer disaster. As Azimio, we thank the 149 members of the National Assembly who voted to impeach the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development. We are aware that his impeachment trial is ongoing, with Parliament calling for a special sitting to deliberate on the Select Committee report on Monday the 13th. We expect that 11 members of the Select Committee will honor the vote of the 149 members and confirm Lenturi's impeachment from office. Lenturi's reign as the Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Development has been nothing short of a disaster. Kenyan farmers were supplied with fake fertilizer that not only destroyed the entire planting and harvest season, but also degraded their land. The entire land has now become economical and viable for many seasons to come. This can only be described as economic sabotage. Apart from the impeding impeachment, Lenturi must also be tried in the anti-corruption courts for the crimes of economic sabotage. Finally, we urge all the parliamentarians to critically scrutinize the budget policy statement and the coming Finance Bill 2024, which is bound to introduce a new wave of taxes with disastrous consequences for ordinary Kenyans who are already suffering from the current high cost of living. Indeed, we conclude that Kenya Kwanza is so far a disastrous regime that should be impeached in its entirety. But we are not into that yet. We're just sounding a warning shot. And this is the democratic country we have all fought to establish.
Are you ready? We are now break. You okay? Okay. So this is the Central Committee of the Orange Democratic Movement Party, which has had a meeting